guys, so it's Sid here, Spiritual Muse, aka Crystals of Quartz on Instagram, and I'm here today to talk to you about something people ask me about all the time. It's my favorite form of divination, lesser known than tarot, is called runes or rune casting. So runes are an ancient Nordic form of divination. It's like a Norse alphabet in a way, and it's kind of similar to, say, Egyptian hieroglyphics. So there are these symbols that all have very specific meanings. So each one means something different. And you use these by, basically you carve them in to individual small pieces, and these pieces can be made out of crystals, bones, wood, whatever it is that the maker is drawn to. So it can be made out of literally anything, and it is just a super cool form of divination that I feel super connected to. And fun fact, after being into this for years, I found out later that I'm Scandinavian, so it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to jump right into showing you some of the different runes that I use. And I have heard a couple of different alphabets, but the ones that I use are the ones I'm going to go over today. And I am completely self-taught. So it's kind of intuitive the way that I read. And I also will say that there may be different ways to do this. There are different things to call them possibly. So I'm going to tell you how I do it, and feel free to do your own research. But this is just my general teaching to let you guys know what the heck are runes, because people literally ask me all the time. So I'm going to start with one of the lesser known runes, which is called Wyrd, W-Y-R-D. And it actually is a blank rune. So there's absolutely nothing on it. It's just a blank stone or a blank whatever piece you are using. And when you see this come up, it has kind of a mysterious origin to it. People say that it's supposed to say weird. It has to do with possibly karma. It's this idea of a blank slate. The possibilities come from this blankness, this vast emptiness, and from that comes everything, correct? Like, it's like the Fool in tarot, the letter 0. So out of nothing is boundless possibilities, learning, but also it can mean karma as well. So that's Wyrd. It's weird. There is nothing on it. So it is in fact a rune though. And then the next rune that I'm going to talk about is what I call Feu. It's kind of like, and now these are all going to kind of come up backwards for you, but it's called Feu, and it has to do with cattle. That's kind of the meaning of it. And it's about possessions and property. So like physical money kind of stuff. And you'll notice as I go through these, they all are things that had a lot of meaning to the Norse people. So there's a lot of things that maybe seem a little odd to us in our modern day society, and if we're not living in areas where we deal with some of these things. So that's Feu. And next we have a Ruse, and that's kind of sort of looks like a music note or an N, and that represents an oxen. So the oxen represents strength and courage, and that is a Ruse. Then next we have Thurisaz, and Thurisaz is the hammer of Thor. It looks kind of like a little flag or something. It's like a little triangle on a line. And that is protection and passion. So when you see that in a rune cast, think protection. And then next we have Ansuz, which looks sort of more like an F than anything else. It's like a slanted down F. And it has to do with Odin and the universe. So this is like godly forces outside of ourselves. And it has to do with inspiration and good luck. So the universal blessings that come into our lives from whatever higher forces that you believe in. For me, I call it the universe. Some people call it God. Some people call it who knows what. There's many different names for it, but it's that idea of things and forces outside of ourselves that help us in life. Angels, you might call them, per se. Rodho is the next rune. It looks like an R. It represents the wheel. When I see it, I think journey, movement, change. And I think of all of that on a couple of levels. So it can be physical movement, physical change, or it can be like a journey of the soul, right? Internal journeying is definitely possible too. Then we have this one, which is like a backwards V, and that is Knaus. It's the hearth, the inner voice, creativity. So this one, think of it like fire. Like maybe if you turn it this way, it'll remind you more of a fire, but it's like a sideways V. Some people call that canoe. I call it Knaus. Now this one is sometimes referred to as Gifu. I always called it Gifu. It's an X. And this represents a gift. It's joy, it's a birth, it's blessings. So it's things coming to fruition. And I like to think of this one, it's like a present wrapped with ribbon. So imagine the ribbon kind of crossed around the package. That's kind of how I remember that one. And then next we have Wunjo, which looks like a P. And that is about joy. It's about happiness and independence. Next we have Hagal, which is very Norse. It's hail, right? So if you're living in, say, Hawaii, this is something you probably don't experience. At least I don't think so. I've never been to Hawaii, so maybe you guys do have hail occasionally. I'm not sure. But Hagal is hail, and hail to the Norse people represented delays. We've had a lot of ice and hail and things here lately, and it definitely slows me down, right? I got to take it all off my car, scrape it off, slowly drive places instead of going as quickly. And it looks like an H, but kind of a little bit slanty. So that's Hagal. But it does represent, I should add, it represents these delays causing positive change. So anything that's delayed, it's being delayed for a proper purpose, for a good reason. Then next we have need, and need is like a line with a slant through it. So it looks kind of like an X, but it's like a lopsided X. So it's a line with a slanted line through it. So it's not a straight X. It's different than Gifu in that way. And that represents the festival fire. And I think of this, it looks almost like you're rubbing two sticks together to create fire. So this represents our needs as well, and then also celebration and success. So getting the things that we need and celebrating that. And it is success through effort specifically. So you got to really rub those sticks together to get that fire. And then next we have Isa, which is just one line, and Isa means ice. So it's the slowing down of progress. It can also mean reconciliation, but it is a reminder to slow things down and a sign that these things are sometimes necessary. Slow progress, you might say. And then we have Gerra, which is like two V's together, and that represents the harvest, earned results, and fertility. Then next we have IWAZ, and that looks kind of like, it's a line with like, it's sort of like a Z but longer, hard to explain, and that represents the yew tree, which is all about gratitude and loyalty. So like a strong tree, we have loyal people in our lives, we may be loyal, can come up meaning something like that. It can also mean to be grateful for our prosperity in our lives. So gratitude. And then we have Rodho, which if you turn it to the side, this is another sort of mysterious rune. Some people say that it's a gambling cup, a cup that you put money in after you win, and some people say it is a womb. So in general, those are very positive things as long as you're winning in gambling, right? So it's the idea of somewhere you put your profits or hard work and things you're growing in the womb. Or just fertility, a baby, that kind of thing. It is definitely very positive though. And then that can also represent the authentic you. So possibly inside that womb of ourselves is our own inner child. And that's Rodho. Rodho. And this one is Ollo, as I call it. I believe there's a different word for it, but I've always called it Ollo. And it represents an elk or eelgrass. So I like to think of it as an elk because I can imagine that this is like the antlers coming up. And it has to do with our battle for fulfillment. So during mating season, elk will battle each other. You can think of like moose or whatever kind of animals have like big horns, battling each other for their mate, battling each other to get that fulfillment. So it's the idea that success is going to come with hard work. We have to really work for the things that we want. So that's Ollo. Then next we have what I call sigil. It looks sort of like an S, and that represents the sun, confidence, and fortune. Sun, confidence, and fortune. So it's another very positive rune. And then next we have what I call Tyr, which is an arrow that faces upwards. And that's if it's facing upwards. Obviously you can pull it in a runecast and it's backwards, and then that means something different. Obviously we read runes similar to the way we read tarot, where if they're reversed they have somewhat of an opposite meaning. And this is the guiding star, so it shows us that we are on our worthwhile path, or if it's upside down we are going in the wrong direction. So you want it to be facing forward to be going on your proper path. I've also always thought of it as a success rune, because when it's pointing forward it means you're heading in the right direction towards your own success. And that's Tyr. So that's always been one of my favorite runes to see, because it's pretty positive, as long as it's facing upright. And if not, it's just a reminder that you got to think about where you're going. And this one I call Bjork. It is like a bee. It represents the birch tree and renewal. Then we have IWAZ, which is supposed to look like a horse. So if you can imagine the two strong legs of the horse and then the body. And that has to do with balance and movement, right? So we have this big, strong animal carrying us forward, helping us to stay balanced on those wonderful four legs, and carrying us forward in all of our endeavors. Then we have Mehnaz, which is the rune of mankind. So it has to do with human nature. Oops. It can represent humans and us realizing other people's faults, or it can represent someone coming in and giving you a hand in a situation where it's showing in the runecast that you need help from others. So it can mean that you will receive help as well through humanity and its goodness. Wouldn't that be nice? And this one is what I call Lagaz, and that is the water or the sea. It is kind of like a backwards 7. It's going to look like a regular 7 to you on this video. And that is about our unconscious wisdom, going with the flow, that sort of thing. So that's Lagaz. Sometimes the things that are a bit mysterious. And then Ing. This represents creativity and fertility. So this really looks like a womb, right? It kind of looks like a pregnant lady with a big belly and full of all kinds of creative ideas, right? So the birth of many different things. Doesn't have to be a baby, doesn't have to be a child. It can be the birth of an idea, a new venture, the birth of a new you, transformation, that kind of thing. So Ing. And then next we have Othel, which I think sort of looks like a fish if you turn it to the side. It represents, man, I'm dropping them all day. It represents the homestead and being happy at home. So all that kind of stuff. So fish. Think of it like that. Othel. And this is probably my favorite rune because I can sing a little song to explain its meaning. So this is Dagaz. It looks like an hourglass on its side. And Dagaz is the idea of the dawn. It's this idea that one day everything's going to get brighter. So I always think to myself, ooh, child, things are going to get easier. Ooh, child, things are going to get brighter. And anyway, I like that song. And it makes me feel good when I'm feeling like I'm in a sort of dark place, right? And that's kind of when Dagaz comes into play. It's saying, like, just hold on, child. It's going to get better. You're going to get through this. Like, there's always darkness before the dawn, right? So it's this idea that one day, all of a sudden, you're going to get out of this darkness and things are going to be so much brighter than you ever imagined. So that's a nice, happy, and cheerful rune to end on. That is all of the runes that I use, that I keep. I would also like to say that this set of runes, I literally took some Amazonite stones and wrote on them with Sharpie. The first set of runes I ever made were just some, like, stones I found on the beach that I took a Sharpie to and wrote them all down. And then eventually I carved them and painted them gold. So now I do make runes out of crystals. So if you ever want your own set, I'm more than happy to make them for you. But I'd also like to encourage you to make your own runes if you have the time and the creativity and the passion and the drive to do that. It can be really empowering to make your own set of runes. So now that you've seen all of the runes and you know what they are, you could go ahead and do that. And when you're reading runes, I guess I didn't mention this, but a lot of people say traditionally you're meant to throw the runes and what comes out is what's meant to be. But typically what I do is I do it sort of like tarot. So I'll take my set of runes and I shake them up before I hand them to the person that I'm reading them to. And then I allow them to shake them and put their energy on it. And I'll tell them to kind of shuffle them in the way that someone would read tarot. And then either what falls out while they're doing that is their reading, or what they pick. So I'll have them close their eyes, and then what they intuitively pick is their runes, right? And there's a couple of different layouts you can do for runes, just the same as tarot. I typically do like a 7 rune cast, but I can do a 1, I can do a 3, a 5, or a 7. Those are typically the lengths that I keep it at. And I absolutely love reading runes. If anyone's ever interested in a rune cast, they're available on my website. And I'm more than happy to do a nice reading for you so you can kind of see what runes are about. And now you know a little bit more and you're not just like, what the heck is a rune cast? I've heard of tarot, but I have no idea. So now you have an idea of what runes are. It's just another form of divination where there's these symbols and they all have their own meaning. So when they come up, it means something. And when they come up with certain ones, it means something different. It can change the reading based on what else is in the rune cast. So that's runes in a nutshell. I kept this video as short as I could. I could probably talk about this for days. But thank you guys for watching, and tune in for some more videos soon. And let me know if there's anything else you want videos on. Anything in the realm of spirituality, I'm more than happy to do. And anything you think that I might have some good input on, I'm more than happy to make a video for you as well. That's what I'm here for all of your spiritual musings. And with that said, go learn more about runes if you'd like to, or subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about different things like this. So thank you everyone, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. And may Thor and Odin guide you.